Man, when I first started smoking, so I bought basically a block of incense, like the shit that you burn for like smell, thinking it was kief from somebody at some point. I don't know how old we were, fucking like 18 maybe. Um, yeah, it was fucking pathetic. It was bad. It was bad. So one of the lessons that I learned from that is know who you're buying from and know where they live and know where they work, especially if you're working with a bunch of brokers. Um, Make sure you can track them down. Uh, have some sort of test on hand. You know, if for whatever reason, whatever you're doing, if you're buying something that doesn't just look like weed, um, if you're buying extract or this or that, I mean, have some sort of test. Like, shit, back in the day when we were hustling, um, people used to fucking make fake lean, and they would basically take like water and Jello, and then like crush up a bunch of Vicodin or Norcos. Nobody put Oxy in there, but just Vicodin, Norcos, and shit, and you throw some food coloring in there. And you basically get it just right, and you shake it up, and there's bubbles, there's no bubbles, blah blah blah. Um, People did all kinds of crazy stuff. I mean, all kinds of shit. Like, I mean, there's back in the day there were terpene products called Tasty Puffs, and they were marketed towards tobacco and stuff. And if you got some shitty weed, you could spray that on your weed and let it air out, and you've had like 30 different flavors or something. And you can mix and match and come up with all these different smells and shit. And nowadays, obviously, that doesn't work, but just know what the fuck you're buying. Ideally, get lab tests, but even then, those can be faked. Most importantly, though, that I learned from this incense thing is don't test it on yourself. You might get some lung issues. You might get poisoned. Worst case scenario, like solvent or pesticides might not. Well, pesticides might be there. Solvent might not actually be removed or purged thoroughly. There's other herbs out there that people are vaping or smoking that I can't find the actual documentation for it, but there was a rumor that combusting kratom um, can create like carcinogenic molecules or some shit, and for some reason people are vaping shit, and I don't know. I'm just saying, ideally, just to make sure something is what it is, find some other way of testing it, and ideally not on yourself. Yeah. So, not necessarily the first. Well, I guess at this point it was the biggest time I've been robbed. But I got stuck up for 12 grand by these two Mexican dudes back when I was in Texas. And this one happened over the course of 2 weeks. And this was, I guess, like my first real, getting hustled and shit. So it started out at, there were two music festivals in my, this was in Austin. And there were two music festivals. One of them was the Austin Reggae Fest, and then the following weekend was Eeyore's birthday. And like Austin Reggae Fest was kind of weed, cannabis, reggae. Eeyore's birthday was like DMT, shrooms, a little hippie, but still in Texas, so as much as they can be in that environment. We were fucking I don't want to say too much, but we were hustling some shit, or hustling a bunch of weed and shit, like at Reggae Fest, and we had like a little tent set up. It was like you could do this back then. You had a tent set up and like a sign, and it was like $10 this, $20 this, blah blah blah. And these two Mexican dudes came up, and this is like this was a 3-day festival, and they came up on like day 1 or day 2 or some shit. Walked right in and just kind of wanted to talk, and we were talking about weed, but we're looking for more weight. They weren't looking for anything there to smoke weed. I think they even had weed on them, but they were looking for something after the festival outside. I should have picked up on that, but I didn't. So I'll just say that If people are talking to you and trying to do stuff outside the festival or outside of wherever the fuck you are, and they can't just do it right there, that's probably an issue. So anyways, I made the mistake of, talking to them and fucking whatnot and getting their number and shit. So throughout that week, like, we were talking and shit, and they said that they grew, and at the time I was growing, and we were gonna trade clones. So I met up with them, like, let's say Sundays. It doesn't matter what days, but I don't want to fucking go any further. But traded clones, and to me that legitimized them, because I was like, well, if they got clones and we're in fucking Texas, well, they must be about shit because they got plants, and not everybody has plants out in Texas. So we traded, but I take their shit back, and all their clones were garbage. None of them were rooted. They all dampened off. Not a single one survived. In the meantime, I gave them fully fucking rooted cuts and shit, and like, we traded in like the back of a car. It was bad. So anyways, they're coming up, and they start telling me that they got this homie that, so this was back in the day when pounds out in Texas, like, for outdoor, was like 4,800. Indoor was like, and that was like really good outdoor, I should say. Indoor was like 52 to 56, and like crazy indoor was like 6, and like hash was 7. 6 to 7 depending on what it was. But they were telling me they could get shit for 4. And I guess that's also second lesson, I should say. When people are going to hustle you, they're not going to give you a number that's unbelievable. They're going to give you a number that's like, it's going to be enough to really fucking pique your interest, and to almost like ignore the risks, but not so much that it's unthinkable, because people are getting weight. Like, I mean, at the time, like, we're paying like fucking 40 whatever. We knew people out west were paying much less. It's just, you just gotta climb that fucking ladder, from that place. So again, I thought, oh man, I fucking, we've already traded clones, these dudes seem cool, and they got a connect in town, fuck it, let's try this shit. So I call my homie, right? And I'm like, bro, I got this guy, blah, 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 you want to throw in? And he's like, I don't know, maybe, probably not, fuck it, let me get 1. So he throws in for 1. We try to grab 3. So 12 grand. I go to this fucking festival, and they call me, tell me, they're ready. So after this festival, I'm in like a tie-dye shirt and fucking flip-flops. I go grab bread from my place, and then go meet up with them. I meet up with them at a fucking, like, a KFC. And they tell me, that's where they're there, come meet them. So we go in, or I go in, and it's these 2 dudes and their family. It's their fucking family, like I don't know, like somebody's like newborn child is there, and like a fucking uncle, and like an old lady or something. Like, their family's there. And like, I'm sitting there like eating fucking KFC with them and shit for a little bit, and then we decided to go do our thing. And my guess now is those are the getaway drivers. But we leave in my car. We take my car over to their fucking supposedly connection shit. So we get there, we park, and they're like, hey bro, is that apartment up there? If you want, you can just give me the bread, and we'll go up there. I was like, nah, bro, shit, man, I can't do that right now. And they're like, oh man, he just doesn't trust people, blah blah blah. And I'm like, bro, I just came from a fucking little psychedelic festival thing. I'm in goddamn tie-dye t-shirt and fucking flip-flops. This motherfucker can trust me. I can't run nowhere. So at that point, I basically let them know that whatever the fuck they were gonna do, nothing was gonna happen. You know, and maybe that's why I didn't get a shot. I don't know. But so like, all right, come on. So they hop out the car real quick and start walking towards the apartment, way ahead of me. I'm like, all right, let me grab this bread. So I grab the bread. It takes me a little second, you know, get my shit together, fucking phones and whatnot, and hop out the car, lock it all up, start walking. They at the same time, it was like that Boondock Saint fucking scene. Like both of them turned around with their fucking guns, pulled straight up on me, and like I'd like turned around like and walked towards them, and it was just like, what the fuck. And it's weird because people are like, you know, what do you feel? And it's like the only thing I could say was like the words were really, like that was it. There's no like fear or anything. It's just like, what the fuck? Are you serious? Like, bro, thought we were about to make money. You know, I thought this was about to become a thing. I thought, you know, we weren't gonna bullshit over 12 grand, and you know, we were about to break bread, and apparently not. So, one of them basically, you know, both of them guns still on me. One of them comes up and gets the fucking shit out of my pocket, and then they tell me to turn around. I'm like, oh fuck, man. You know, like I don't know what the fuck's going through my head, man. I'm just fucking living, goddamn. You know, I might be dying, you know, and I'm out here, and you know, this just part of Austin that I don't really fuck around at. It's just not my hood. You know, I don't know anybody out there. It's just, you know, it's an area around where I fuck with, but I don't know anybody there. And they fucking take my keys and throw my keys, throw my phone, and tell me to just stay there. And they fucking, I guess, walk back, hop in a car, and then I hear them take off. And I just slowly turn around. Fuck, dude. I'm like remembering all this shit. I slowly turn around, and nobody was there. And I'm just kind of like, what the fuck? I don't know what the fuck happened. And it's crazy because you realize that, like, they will use anybody that's going to hustle you if they really want to. They'll take their fucking time to set it up. And they will use their friends, their family, their kids. And it'll be like a multiple people thing, you know, if they're going to take the time for it. You know, and that's what you got to remember is if they're taking the time, then you're worth it, or they're trying to set something bigger up. You know, and so if you already have some, you know, some people that you think are kind of shady or this or that, I mean, pay attention to that shit. You know, they could be setting something up or trying to just get you for more. You know, and as far as like surviving that shit, like it's not up to you. You know, it's not up to you. At the moment, I thought this motherfucker was gonna shoot me right in my face. You could just look in the dude's eyes, and it was like, that dude didn't really give a fuck. But at the same time, it was like, I'm fucking harmless. Like at that moment, I'm fucking harmless. Like, I didn't bring nothing. You know, I was amateur. I was fucking amateur back then, and yeah, I took that loss. And so, here's the bigger lesson, though. What do you do after you get robbed? That was my predicament. Not really for me, but for most people it is. And I don't mean to sound like I'm some like high and mighty thing. I'm legitimately a good person. And so I'll just tell you, I went back home, grabbed an extra $4,000 and fucking gave that to my homie and told him what happened, and told him, you know, I'm not going to share the loss. You know, this is my loss, and you know, you trusted in me, you didn't trust them. You only trusted them because of me, and so I'm making sure you don't take that loss, and I took the loss. And to this day, he still says the same story to people. And that makes me feel good because that means I made the right decision, and my character and my stories, I guess, they precede me in a good way. But yeah, if you end up taking losses like this, realize, how many different people could be affected. I got stories, but I only chose a few to talk about this time.